Thank you, St. Paul's. It was such a privilege to be able to represent you while we were in Las Rosas, Nicaragua, and throughout the entire country of Nicaragua. Everywhere we went, people would come up to us and say, "Thank you so much for the changes that you're making in our lives," especially in the community of Las Rosas. And it wasn't just the people that were the benefactors of getting a house. It was the entire community, because they could tell that these houses that were being built and being dedicated was going to change not only their lives, but the lives of the entire community. And one thing I realized is that people would come up to us and they would tell us that they didn't understand why a church in a small town in Missouri would care so much about them to make such a drastic change in their lives. And we didn't know what to say to them. All we could say is, "You're welcome." But what we found was that it was really a humbling experience, because it wasn't us, it was you, and it was your generosity that was making such a change in those people's lives. The only way to describe the housing ceremony and the opening ceremony for the houses was that it was just beautiful. People would come up and they would pick out which house. They would pick a fruit, and inside of that fruit was a number. And everybody wanted number 25. And then when that little boy picked the fruit, opened it up, and they realized that he had picked number 25, there was such joy on the people's lives. And why they wanted house number 25 was because it had a little bit bigger of a backyard, and it had some vegetation there. And what we realized is that there's going to be a little bit more fruit tree space available, or maybe there's a little bit more room to raise chickens or for their children to play, and that's the reason why they wanted house number 25. During the ceremony, we laughed with the people of Nicaragua, we celebrated with them, and then at the end, there was an impromptu dance that lasted for a couple hours. That was a blast for us and for the entire community of Las Rosas as well. One of the privileges that we got to experience while we were on this trip was being able to see a community that had been opened about a year before, housing units that had been opened a year before. And what we found was that it was a thriving community. Businesses had been formed. There were trees, fruit trees that had been planted last year that was just about ready to produce fruit that was being able to be eaten. And what we also saw was that there was livestock that was all over this community. And what we found is that it was a thriving community, and our hope and prayer is that next year, whenever another team goes back, that's what Las Rosas is going to look like. I'm so proud, and you would be so proud of the youth that went on this trip as well. They bonded not only with the youth of Las Rosas, but they played with the kids, and they spoke and bonded with the adults as well. In fact, there was Caroline the Rents. She went on the trip, and she befriended a youth from Las Rosas. And the next day she came back, and this girl had written her a note. And at the end of the note, it said that they would be friends for life. So the following day, Caroline handed her a note and said that no matter what happens, no matter the language barrier, no matter what, that they would truly be friends for life. And at the end, all the girl wanted to do was braid Caroline's hair. And Caroline, of course, let her do that. And it's one of those moments that you can only capture if you're there. What that shows is just how thoughtful and how Christ-centered our youth are in this church. And you really would have been proud of them if you saw just how they bonded with the people of Las Rosas. Thank you, St. Paul's, for allowing us to represent your generosity to the people of Las Rosas and to the people of the entire country of Nicaragua. If you ever have that chance to make the trip, you will be glad that you did, because you will be able to see firsthand the transformation that we're making to the lives of the people of Las Rosas. And if you're not able to make the trip, continue to pray for the people of Las Rosas. And if you're able to, make the commitment that Aaron just talked about so that we can build the next 25 houses for the people of Las Rosas.